Cody Rhodes' peck falls off his body.
Actually, yeah, that's a pretty fair assessment. Hello there, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture. He's Michael Hamflett from WhatCulture. Hell in a Cell 2022 has just finished, and we are here to tell you what went down. And what went down was one of the most sickening injuries I've ever seen watching wrestling. You may have already heard the reports that Cody Rhodes had injured his pectoral muscle heading into Hell in a Cell. I think they said he'd sort of partially damaged it in the fight with Rollins on Raw and then completely torn it off the bone, training ahead of tonight's premium live event. But nothing could have prepared us for what happened when Cody took that jacket off.
No, the grisly reveal was instantly going to be destined to be the story of the match, the story of the night, probably one of the stories of the year, and certainly one of the stories that WWE will try and tell forever and ever and ever about Cody's return to the fold. They got everything they could have wanted and more from this. Quickly, there will be debate, I think, that will rage for days on exactly whether or not Cody should have worked that, but we assume he's been cleared to do so. Like, WWE now are so careful about clearance and about, you know, when people can and can't wrestle it. We have to assume that he's passed enough tests to get through that. But they certainly got the visual of it, if nothing else.
Personally as well, from what I've witnessed, what he's done in WWE and previously, of course, in AEW, he's a mad bastard. He'll do what he wants. Not to let that physical image overshadow what was a genuinely really enjoyable premium live event, a sensational main event, brilliant opener as well. What did you make of it all?
Yeah, I can't really fault it. These premium live events, because they always come in at around the 3-hour mark, obviously tend to... Look, there's lots of conversations about timing, and I don't want to get derailed on a double or nothing comparison or anything like that. If you are happy with the amount of time that you've spent watching the show, like, more power to you. It's not about timing, it's about audience experience, and I think some of these AEW events do feel a bit more exhausting. You tend not to get too tired watching these shows, and I'm not saying that as somebody in the UK who watches it from midnight. This can be in America. I don't think they're a tiring experience because you're just not watching them long enough to feel tired. Nothing really here, like, outlived its welcome. Independent of anything else on the card, independent of the 3-hour runtime, nothing else ran over.
Yeah. I think it's fair to say there's several matches on here that you could argue could have just happened on an episode of Monday Night Raw, or maybe felt like they were a match just lifted out of Monday Night Raw and put on a premium live event. But, to take it back to the beginning, you didn't feel that about the opener. The triple threat for the Raw Women's Championship, Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch, and Asuka. Normally, I'm not a huge fan of triple threats when WWE do it, and there was elements of that in there of I've knocked you out of the ring, and then you're out there for like a 20 count, basically, so the other two can just do one-on-one match stuff. But my word, when they put the stuff together, it worked brilliantly. I'm thinking, of course, of Asuka's sort of double submission.
I know there was a couple of moments like that. There was the double submission ankle lock. There was just a fantastic exchange between Becky and Asuka that led to Bianca Belair having to interject herself. The story throughout was them obviously playing on that expectation that somebody always goes to the outside whilst two more people fight. In this case, it was Bianca Belair keeping being thrown to the outside until she's now grown as a performer and in confidence to see these situations playing out in front of that and take advantage of them rather than being taken advantage of, which is what used to happen when Becky Lynch was the champion. I like this. This was a kind of allegory for the whole pay-per-view for me because this wasn't necessarily... They don't fire for a 10 all the time in these matches in its arrangement. It wasn't aiming for a 10, but they managed to kind of achieve a 9 anyway. And that's kind of how this pay-per-view played throughout. Nothing was aiming, shooting, maybe apart from the main event, shooting for the heights, but they hit it anyway. Really great exchanges. Becky Lynch in particular for me was the glue that sort of held all this together. Asuka got the great moments. Bianca Belair, of course, got the hope spots and the eventual win. But I think she's just doing the best work of her career, Becky Lynch, in ring at the moment. So the acting is a little bit cartoonish, but physically, I think she's as good as she's ever been.
I was a bit surprised that Asuka was the one to take the pinfall here, but I think arguably she was quite protected by the finish as well. The finish saw Bianca Belair sort of glam slam her face first into the turnbuckle, and then as it was looking like Bianca Belair was going to hit her with a finish, in came Becky Lynch to hit Asuka with a manhandle slam. Bianca Belair chucks her out of there, steals the pin somewhat. 1, 2, 3. She retains the Raw Women's Championship, and Becky Lynch just doesn't know what to do yet again on the outside. She has been outfoxed by Bianca Belair.
Yeah, she's out of contention theoretically now. It's a nice time for challengers to be nowhere near the title because we have the need for multi-person ladder matches next month where they can still technically be in contention. It's not too bad.
I love Money in the Bank, man. Right, then we had the handicap match. It was almost an MVP versus Bobby Lashley. It didn't really get a great deal out of this match. The finish saw Cedric Alexander getting involved after offering his help to MVP and Omos and getting thoroughly rebutted backstage earlier. And later on afterwards, Bobby Lashley sort of went, thanks for your help, I didn't need it. Never do that again. But he was proud to see Cedric Alexander taking control and standing up for himself, basically. Look, we've seen a lot from these three, really, over the recent months. And I got more a sense of, you know, I wasn't expecting big things because I know the limitations that are on this sort of match and these performers working together. Bobby Lashley tried his best, of course. It's Bobby bloody Lashley. Held up the WWE Championship after it possibly signifying a title challenge later on down the road. But I got a sense of relief of, like, it's over after the end of this.
Yeah, it's a funny one. You don't want to just have such a low bar that when they delicately tiptoe over it, you think, good work, guys, and ruffle all the hair. Not least when you're dealing with giants, because you ruffle their hair, they'll absolutely batter you. But I will say, in defence of WWE a little bit here, it was the shortest match on the card. They paid off a fairly long-running, well, joke, more than story with Cedric Alexander. They had an exchange after the fact where Cedric was like, you know, I'm going to go out on my own. This was him getting to finally express himself as a character. And as you say, this feud, which I think people want it to be over, is over, with Bobby Lashley theoretically back onto more sort of serious business.
Exactly.
Now. So there was a lot
Potentially Money in the Bank.
A lot accomplished in what was the shortest match of the night. So I can't hate this too much. It wasn't their weakest match so far. It wasn't their best, but I don't think it was the worst thing they've done either.
No. What followed it again was a match that probably could have happened on Monday Night Raw, but I love Kevin Owens, so anytime I get to see him on a premium live event, I'm happy. He faced Ezekiel, who maybe suffered from the fact this was his first ever premium live event, of course. A bit of inexperience in there. Kevin Owens eventually getting the victory, hitting a stunner after Ezekiel had got busted open just above his eyebrow. A story of quite a lot of the night here. And this was a shock, a surprise. I thought maybe Ezekiel was going to get a win, maybe from like a guitar strum distraction or something like that. But I'm still invested in this character, and I'm intrigued to see where this story goes next.
Yeah, so Owens getting a win clean here, no less, was a bit of a surprise. But the more I've thought about this, we kind of had a bit of a joke with this on the stream and indeed in the podcast before, and this inexperienced gag might be something WWE lean on. Kevin Owens can now theoretically celebrate that he has beaten the guy that he is telling everybody he's Elias. He even stared down the lens and said, 1, 2, 3, Elias, as he pinned him. For Ezekiel to say, you know what, Kevin, you got me. But it was my first premium live event. I was nervous. And that can annoy Owens all the more. Yeah. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. I beat you. You've been around for years. You've sat next to me in this ring. They can go back to this. Owens could be more annoyed by the virtue of his victory than he would have been by the virtue of a defeat, by something like we've pitched. And they've always got another month to do that again. Yeah. I think normally when WWE say this is far from over, you get that feeling in the pit of your stomach. They're kind of only just getting into gear with this.
Guitar and a pole match, please, WWE.
Yeah, why not? In tribute to his fallen brother.
Exactly. Right, the Judgment Day, next up against Finn Balor, AJ Styles, and Liv Morgan. No bollocks getting spoken here by the Judgment Day, so I really liked it.
Yeah, it wasn't without flaws, this match.
AJ got busted wide open.
Yeah, there's a video doing the rounds on Twitter. Look at that at your discretion, because it's a cut right across the head. It's not for everybody. Liv Morgan attempting a dive in order to keep up with her quasi-Bullet Club brethren. Could have gone very wrong and didn't, like Rhea Ripley was there to catch her, thankfully. So it was a little bit clunky in places, but I did really appreciate the finish, which was not what we predicted in terms of a new member of the Judgment Day into Tommaso Ciampa, but the stable using the rules of the match, and indeed the fact that you have male and female members to their advantage. Rhea Ripley standing in front of Edge as Finn Balor went for the coup de grace was a nice way to show that it's a benefit to have members of like each sex in a stable like this, in a match like this.
Sacrificing themselves for each other.
Indeed, it was all a bit, we got a lot of joker face stuff from Rhea Ripley after the fact. It's all...
She's the Joker baby.
She's the Joker baby. It's all still very cheesy and cliched and nonsensy, but the quality of the match wasn't really to be questioned, and the Judgment Day needed this win.
Exactly.
Like a big win to actually make the idea of it all feel a bit more credible.
Maybe Rhea Ripley could win Money in the Bank. I'm going to pick everyone to win Money in the Bank.
Every winner and half the losers.
Yes. Although one person who's probably going to go away for a while is Happy Corbin. He lost the no-holds-barred match with Madcap Moss, who was called Madcap on the thing, but then wasn't called just Madcap. Just call him Maverick Moss is the new name we came up with him on the stream, and I really like that because I really like Top Gun Maverick. But yes, this was them. Unfortunately, as you said, trying to follow Anarchy in the arena. Yeah. You're following a shooting with a stabbing, basically, in terms of the fact that you've got, all this blood and guts and everything that's happened in AEW, and now all they can really use is chairs and maybe the odd kendo stick, although that was going to be saved for the main event. In the end, though, Madcap Moss gave Happy Corbin a taste of his own medicine, didn't he?
Yes. It was all too casual about it as well. Got him with a big pin. We put him out of action. We broke his neck. The stairs onto the chair, the Pillmanizing of the neck to put Corbin out. It was physical, and you could see that they were going hell for leather. The spots they exchanged on the outside were they're big men, so they were really flinging themselves into each other. There was a couple of particularly nice exchanges around the table. Madcap Moss, for a man his size, moves super quick, bumps super hard. There's a lot to love about what they're attempting with Moss. He's clearly got something that can elevate him above your standard generic big man, and they're going to keep scrambling around the dark until they find it, because he is worth the work here. Corbin, similarly, is a guy who you can sort of see on nights like this why they persist. There was a couple of nice moments where he tried to find the heat in spite of there not being a great deal in this. Hope the character gets a bit of time off as a result of the next one, because I think he needs a bit of a breather. And this was as earnest an attempt as you're going to get to try and make a babyface. Say it with us again. Madcap Moss probably heads towards Money in the Bank.
Yes, exactly. What followed was a hometown loss, because WWE gonna WWE. But I'll tell you what, I'll give them their due. They made me nibble on a few pinfalls in the match between Mustafa Ali and US champion Theory. Theory retained, hitting the, what's it called, A-Town down? Yeah, hitting his finisher on Ali after Ali had eaten rubbish, going for his 450 splash, just completely collided face first with the ring, going for that as Theory moved out of the way. Hometown boy, he put on a hell of a show.
Yeah, this was as WWE PLE match as you're going to get, where the hometown hero loses because WWE just like to do that for that mythical heat, but because the match made something out of what truthfully has been nothing on television. Mustafa Ali's kind of been 50-50 since he come back. There is no sense of a big comeback story or a guy smashing the machine or anything like that. I think we said in the preview, this just feels like Austin Theory's time, regardless of who he's in there with at the moment. He's winning the big matches.
If he's not going to win Money in the Bank, you have to keep the US title on him.
Indeed. But yeah, the work in the meantime was very, very good. This was maximising your minute stuff for Ali in an arena where they wanted it for him and he wanted it for him and all that sort of stuff. It just wasn't going to be his night. Not bad, but the kind of feeling that he's not necessarily getting anywhere with this comeback is becoming increasingly more prevailing.
Yes, exactly. We'll talk more about that, no doubt, as we look ahead to Monday Night Raw. But let's talk main event. Hell in a Cell, the conclusion of one of WWE's best ever trilogies, in my opinion, now. And it's very rare, as people pointing out in the comments, that you get a 3-0 trilogy. Cody Rhodes clean sweeping it. But my word, what a phenomenal effort, like you say. We discussed at the start whether or not he should have been in there. They sort of announced it throughout the show. They talked about it on the kickoff show as well. They forewarned people, but nothing could have prepared us for, even with knowing what happened with Trips and his pec tear in whatever it was. Saudi, was it?
Yeah.
I just couldn't believe the fact that people were like, is that a work? Is it makeup? No. It's just horrible. And Seth wearing the polka dots as well, rubbing salt into the wound and rubbing a kendo stick into the wound as well.
Yeah, it turns out forewarned is one-armed. Is that right? Yeah, because Cody had to do the whole thing pretty much with one arm until he was obviously physically able to sell it. As we kind of said at the top of this, as you pointed out, it's going to be interesting over the next few days to watch the debate and the discourse fly out on this one, because Cody has clearly donated his body to the cause here. Hopefully he was cleared. Hopefully what we saw was expert selling rather than just that very physical. Like sometimes you get a bruise and it's a great visual, but it doesn't hurt as much as it looks. Hopefully that was Cody's night tonight, but he certainly sold it like it was. And that made this match completely, elevated it to another level. This was a great piece of work by any sort of standard. Seth coming out with them dots was a huge popper before even we saw the extent of Cody's bruise. It was, as you put it, a paintball bruise sticking out under the jacket.
Yeah, that was fine. I can handle that.
Actually revealed Cody, never shy of a flair for the drama, knew what he was revealing when he let that go. The crowd sat very sort of reminiscent of WrestleMania, sat in shock, absorbing the weird sight of it for the first 2-3 minutes. And then Cody and Seth did Cody and Seth things. And that's our internal alarm telling us that we're all out of time here on what went down. But there will be more coverage of this in great detail because they've donated such great detail to this trilogy, to this match. All the weapon stuff around the shoulder was fantastic.
Cody going through a table, Seth going through a table.
We got Cody's amazing tweet for the love of the game. That is, of course, this competition of who loves Triple H more between these two men. The peck, the sledgehammer, the pedigree teasers. Triple H's influence hung heavy, very literally, in the titty of Cody Rhodes in this match. But what a way to utilise that influence. A real tremendous capper for this trilogy, and indeed possibly for Cody's run for the time being.
Yes.
I guess more on that in the days and weeks as we find out exactly how injured he is.
Yeah,
looks hurt, but maybe it's the kind of hurt he can work.
Like a lot of speculation in our comments whether it's going to be 3 months, 6 months, 9 months he's going to be out for. Could he be back just in time for the Rumble? Who knows?
He worked tonight. It could be 9 days.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, there was bits where Seth caught him when he was sliding back in the ring with a curb stomp, and then you know, there was bits, as I said, where Seth frog splashed through a table that Cody was meant to be on and moved out of the way, and then they buckle bombed him sort of through a table that had been propped up in the corner as well. In the end, though, after an exchange of crossroads, Cody hit 2 crossroads, setting up for the third, went, nah, bollocks to that, just clobbered him with a sledgehammer. 1, 2, 3. Where does Cody go? Where does Seth Rollins go from here? It was just, like I said, a sensational conclusion to one of my favourite trilogies in recent memory.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll look back, I think, on the Seth Rollins Cody Rhodes thing as not just like a great trilogy in its own terms, but a wonderful series of matches for both men.
Yeah.
At the times in their careers, the trajectory of where they are right now. Like, I think both of them will look back on this as the best thing they do this year, regardless of where they both go next.
Indeed, more than just normal men, more than just innocent men. 2 brilliant men in the main event of Hell in a Cell. And a real pleasant surprise, like I say, for the show. Yeah. I think some people thought, this is just going to be a glorified episode of Raw, basically. Far exceeded that. And now we look ahead to, I was going to say the stadium shows, Money in the Bank and the stadium shows. But let us know your thoughts on everything in the comments section below. Like, share, subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling, where myself and Hamlet will be chatting more about this in more detail on a podcast in, just a few minutes probably. You can also let us know your thoughts and Twitter questions on Twitter. You can follow me at Adam Wilborn, and he can tell you where you can follow him as I run off screen to stop the recording. Thanks for watching. This has been What Went Down. Hamflet, where can people find you on Twitter?
They can find me on Twitter at Michael Hamflet. Again, you can find us all at WhatCulture WWE. All the post Hell in a Cell, all the post Boo Boo C coverage is available for Cody's Brews. And we will see you soon.